Okay, so my name is Skylar Davis, and I go to Arkansas State. I'm here with Chris Perry, and he's a PA. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Right, so Chris Perry, I am 47 years old. I've been a PA now for 22 years. I had a degree, my undergraduate degree was at Wake Forest University in North Carolina in exercise and sports science, which was their pre-med program. Had a choice between either going to medical school or PA school, chose PA school. I went to Yale University PA program, graduated there in 1995, and have been doing orthopedics for 22 years.
How long have you been in Arkansas?
I've been in Arkansas now 15 years. I worked for the largest orthopedic group in Georgia when I came out of school, which was in Columbus, Georgia. Had a place called the Houston Clinic. Houston Clinic was named after a gentleman named Jack Houston, who was considered kind of the godfather of orthopedics and sports medicine. He was the first team physician to be on the sidelines, and actually built the first true just orthopedic hospital in Columbus, Georgia, back in the 80s. Worked there for 7 years, and then I've been here 15.
Wow, okay. Well, like you said, you've been working here for 22 years, so that's how long you've been working in your field. Why did you choose this profession?
You know, when I was a kid, I grew up in a little town in Vermont, really rural, and because it was rural, my family doctor was a PA, and so I knew through my entire youth what physician assistants did. I knew their knowledge base and their scope of practice, so I always kind of knew that was an avenue. When it came time to choose between medical school or PA school, I like the idea just of being able to do something for another kind of 2 to 3 years and have a degree versus medical school then residency. I always had personally a hard time getting my head around being a doctor and not being done until I was 32 or 33. I wanted to be doing something quicker than that, and the PA program allowed that.
That's somewhat what I've thought about too.
Right.
What was the hardest part for you when trying to get this job, or get your first job?
First job. I think the hardest part was never having to really try to get a professional job, knowing what to do. I mean, I think you've never, you get like a summer job or something like that. This is a real job, and knowing how to present yourself, knowing how to talk to adults who are interviewing you when you are, say, 22, 23, 25 years old can be intimidating. And I think kind of working through those logistics are, that was probably a challenge to some degree. I mean, I think I did well. I was offered jobs every place I applied, but I think, it's something new. And school doesn't really necessarily teach you how to interview. It teaches you book things, it teaches you knowledge base, but it doesn't always teach you how to sell yourself for someone to say, yeah, I want to employ Skylar to work for me.
Saying that, what is your biggest advice from trying to sell yourself in that regard?
I think having self-confidence, obviously, you have to know who you are, and you have to know what your strengths are. I think is very important. I think you have to be honest with yourself when you look at that. I think a lot of times people look at certain careers and they read it in a book, or they read it in Fortune magazine or Money magazine, that, oh yeah, this is a great career, but they might not really know what that career entails. And I'll just give you an example. When I was on the committee at Yale, my second year on the application committee, the one question that I would ask people when they came in is, all right, you've made it. You've graduated, you got accepted here, you've made it through this program, you've been hired in your first job. Just kind of tell me what you think your first day is going to be like. Like, what are you going to do? Just tell me, what are you going to do? You have passed all your stuff. What's your first day going to be? Kind of walk me through it. And, people who didn't really necessarily know what a physician assistant did, they would just kind of say, well, I just, whatever they tell me to do, I'll just do that, versus somebody who says they know truly what a PA is going to do. Like, you're going you're going to see somebody, you're going to treat somebody, you're going to diagnose somebody, you're going to work in conjunction with the doctors that you work with to formulate plans for somebody's health care, no matter what you're doing. And I think having that knowledge base of what a PA does truly is your biggest benefit when you start applying for things.
Okay, that's very helpful. What skills are needed to prepare oneself for this job?
I think, obviously from an academic standpoint, you're well versed in that. I mean, obviously your sciences and anything else that's going to, relate to the sciences, from a healthcare perspective. I think the thing that surprises a lot of people in medicine or healthcare in general is how much talking you're doing with somebody. You have to be able, you are constantly talking and listening to people all day long. All walks of life, younger, older, all degrees of education. And being able to convey your questions to people so that they can understand them and that you can relate into them and invest in them. I think that's the probably the biggest thing that people don't realize is how much you're sitting and talking.
The communication part.
Absolutely, it's huge, huge.
Okay. So, who helped you the most when going through PA school, getting a job? Who helped you? Who do you consider?
Yeah, so I knew, I knew a few PAs when I was in, obviously I knew PAs all through my youth, but I knew PAs specifically that I became close friends with through, college and even once I was in school. I did rely on the people I knew who were already in the workforce, to a degree, with certain questions. They definitely helped to some degree. I think you have to rely on whatever your support team is, whether that be a parent or a spouse or a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it may be, because it's hard when you're going through the academic part of it, just from a stress level, hard to be by yourself. And you have to rely on some other people to deal with the stresses. I think from a job perspective, knowing somebody in the business makes a big difference, because there's going to be things that are going to present as a student that you just don't know, like how to understand a contract when somebody offers you a contract, and what's a good contract versus what's a bad contract when you go for your first job. You don't know those things, and you're not going to know those things because you've never done it before. And it's just like going on a vacation. You've never been to that place before, and you'll have to figure out kind of where to go and what to do.
Okay, good. Well, at least I may have.
Yeah, there you go, Scott. You got one, so that's good.
You talked about the stresses of jobs, so how do you handle the stresses that you have to deal with?
Yeah, I think you have to have something else in your life. Obviously, if you are 100% of anything, you don't have that balance. You don't have that yin and yang of life. So you have to, I think my advice is you have to have that other thing that allows you to decompress, whether that be sports or exercise or reading or other relationships that just get you out of the medical component of it. I think is important. And I think you'll have those things, and you learn those things in college and undergraduate school, how you deal with stress. How you deal with stress when you're a freshman in college and you're taking some tests that you're really amped up about, that's going to be the same way you handle stress the rest of your life. It may change a little bit as you go through your years, but you're always going to have that other thing that you can kind of decompress off from.
The outlet.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to have something.
What makes you proud of your work?
I think I think one thing is, when people come back and really just ask for you, and say, I really just want to see Chris, if that's okay, or because I think as a PA, technically you're always working as a team. You're always under that doctor, and you have to accept that. You have to accept that component of being a team player. But I think the thing that makes you happy is when someone, comes in and says, I'm just great. I'll just see you today. That's fine. Or somebody, remembers specifically, your name and says, oh yeah, I'll just see Skylar. I think that'd be great. And that makes you happy. I think that it's like if you're at a restaurant, someone keeps coming back in to buy the same meal. You kind of know you're doing something right.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Lastly, what advice would you give to someone pursuing this job?
Yeah, I think from an academic standpoint, I think the most important thing is knowing what the job is and knowing what it means to be in that career. So I do think the more you can experience being in the healthcare world in general, whether that be volunteering or shadowing in an office or emergency room or things like that. I just think that knowledge base is invaluable. I think that looks good because it shows that you've made the effort. I mean, from my own perspective, when I was in high school, I volunteered and just stood in an emergency room for, on Saturdays and Sundays, just doing nothing, not getting paid, just kind of hanging out and watching stuff and, occasionally having to run something to a lab or helping here and there, moving a gurney or a stretcher or just being a gopher. But I was in it. I was in the arena, and you may not always be doing the stuff that matters, but you're seeing it, and I think that matters. I think having that knowledge base to know what you're getting into, because in this world, I mean, once you're out of college, out of school, I mean, you're looking at what am I doing for the next years of your life, and you just want to be prepared for that. And not that you can't change at some point, but you want to feel like you made the right choice early on.
Okay, well, I'd just like to thank you for taking the time. Hopefully, I'll see you again,
Yep.
maybe in the future.
Yep.